Welcome to Restart at Any Age. This is Susan Douglas coming to you from the garden of Chez Serendip in beautiful Scotts Valley. Chez Serendip is a 6-acre creative sanctuary in the Santa Cruz Mountains where artists, healers, builders and dreamers gather to create a more beautiful world. You can find them on their website, chezserendip.com, CHEZSERENDIP, and on Instagram at Chez Serendip. So today we're thrilled to have Jeanette Bent back with us for part 2 of our conversation, because last time we explored her remarkable journey across performance, journalism and creative entrepreneurship. But before we dig into it this time, we also have Elisa Seba back with us, which is fabulous. And she's just going to jump in to tell you a little bit more about Chez Serendip as she is the founder.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's funny just hearing back the introduction, we're going to have to update it because since Jeanette introduced us and you started hosting the podcast here and we did our first interview, which feels like so long ago now, we are now officially a foundation and we're now a .org versus a .com. And so, part of this relationship and wanting you to be telling stories here is a part of one of my program pillars, which is how do we use narratives to ultimately impact culture and change the world on a small scale of what we can. But yeah, as Chez Serendip Foundation, I'm very excited to begin supporting more community projects like the 831.
Yeah. Well, this is perfect because with Jeanette here today, that's what we're going to talk about. That's one of our topics for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny because what has yet to be officially big known from Jeanette and her community is that when I first met Jeanette, I felt so aligned with her and her creative vision for how to build culture and tell stories in this area. And as I was building up the foundation, she was the first person I asked to join our board of directors. So officially, I get to announce you in this very public way as a board member of the Chez Serendip Foundation.
I'm honored, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I'm honored to have your leadership and your experience and also your vision. And a huge part of that vision has been rooted in what you have done with the 831. The first kind of pilot podcast that we did way back, almost a year ago as it come, was right when the news station shut down. Yeah. And you shared your reaction. And then the next interview that we did, which was, that second pilot, which I still have not shared, so I need to get on that, was the conversation of how the 831 was coming to be. And here we are now. And so as the Chez Serendip Foundation, I'm really excited to share that we can become the fiscal sponsor of the 831. And there will be more on that at the end of this podcast as you circle back to
exciting news.
it.
This is exciting news.
I also want to just say that actually you can see the genuine relationship that is the 831 with Chez Serendip because we actually started our podcast before the 831 was even a thing.
Totally did.
So you watch this journey kind of unfold, right?
Yes.
I remember the very first podcast we had out here and I was still working at KION and that was fine. It was great. We had we had it. And so there is this authenticity that really did unfold. And it is. And
you can listen to it
right
on the 831.
I know, on the 831, right. And hosted a lot of I'm so happy that I'm in the seat of being able to offer Chez Serendip, offer people to Chez Serendip and the needs of the folks, Susan, who wanted a space to do podcasting and stuff. And this is exactly why Chez Serendip exists.
Exactly.
I love what you just said about changing in a positive light. It's like benefiting humanity in this small scale that we can with narrative. You're right. Storytelling. We're so destined to be soul sisters. Yeah, storytelling. That's what it is. That's really what it is. And it's I feel like it's so resonant right now in humanity, with like everybody's finding these little niches and these different ways to do that in their own like microcosm, and it's beautiful. And like people who are able to host that, that's incredible. Like,
which, speaking of hosting,
yes,
my invitation to the 831 and the community of listeners and patrons who have been supporting this grassroots organization and movement behind journalism, including myself, as I have been a contributing author for arts and culture on the 831, is to invite this community to this property. So we are going to begin planning an event at Chez Serendip with the 831. And, my goal is to activate your community in a way that allows a sustainable business model to grow around the 831, so that we can inject economy and support our local journalists and keep our news here, told by the people living the stories of which we exist in.
exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well,
Love
with
this
that,
space.
Susan, I'm going to let you take it away
Okay.
and continue your amazing conversation with Jeanette, and to hear all about her writing and her book, and then, more on what you're doing with the 831.
Right.
So,
Well, thanks for dropping by.
of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely. We're
of
very
course.
blessed to have you.
Yes,
Enjoy the garden,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
I will welcome everyone here later this summer to
Yep.
be in this space with us.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, Jeanette.
Hi.
Hi. Here we are again, but
Here
in the
we
garden
are.
this time. So lovely. So we're focusing on your current chapter now, because we've covered the past,
Right.
and fascinating, amount of lives you've lived already.
Thank you.
And now we're going to dive deep into your mythic fantasy epic, Dark Star, Reclaiming Lilith, along with your work on the 831. So, of course, the 831 is the independent journalism collective for our Central Coast. But, we've just mentioned that now with Alyssa, and we'll come back to it in a bit. So, let's get on with this. You've written several books before Dark Star. At what point did you realize the characters or energies from your earlier works, like in Alpha Phoenix or Flicker, were all manifestations of the same figure, Lilith?
Thank you for that question. Okay, so it was deep 2020, right? So
Right.
we're talking like mid, pandemic, COVID, all this stuff. Prior to that, actually, so I'm sorry, let's circle back. It's a little bit before that. It was 2019. And I was working at the museum. I had like kind of recreated the surgence of gig work. So I was like, had some good cash flow, just put it that way. So I decided to take a writing workshop. So I was in this writing workshop, and it's from a marketer, Seth Godin, who is permission marketing. Really, I love him, follow his stuff. I was in his like Akimba workshops and all these different things. And he started this just writing workshop, and it was sort of like accountability, like you show up and you do your own thing. So I started that. It was 2019. I also at that same time discovered, I think it was kind of in the same vein of like the Dramatists Guild Institute, which I'm so thrilled to say, like mid 2026 now, I'm actually wrapping up my post-bachelorate certification.
Oh.
I'm doing my last course that I need to fulfill my
Well done.
thank you.
Yeah.
My credits, actually next week I'm starting it, and then I
Okay.
have my labs to do, but my post-bachelorate certification in musical theater writing. So I found it, I want to say it was like very December 2019. It was like late, and like pandemic was about to happen.
Okay.
So I'm doing these, I got accepted into the post-bachelorate certification program. I'm starting to do this writing thing. I'm doing this Seth Godin thing. In that, as I was starting 2020, we know what happened, right? We all lived
We
through
all
it.
know
If
what
we're all-
happened.
If
Yeah.
we're all here, we know what happened.
Yeah.
Well, I had time. I had all kinds of time. So I actually started paying attention to these workshops I was doing in a different way than I had ever kind of done these like I have a college degree, all these different things. I've done workshops many times over the course of my life, like writing workshops, things like that. Yeah. But it wasn't until that moment where like stillness happened that I sort of dropped in and was like, wait a second. I was writing this new, it was okay, so it ended up being, I'll give, it's not actually too much of a spoiler alert, so I can talk about it. It's the third part of Dark Star.
Okay.
I was writing that. That was the story I was working on in this workshop. And I was like, oh, this feels so vaguely familiar. And it wasn't until I was probably 3/4 of the way through that story that I was like, this feels very similar to Alpha Phoenix.
Right.
And then I started going back and I was like, wait a second. So I looked back at Alpha Phoenix first because what I was writing during that time 6 years ago was very sci-fi fantasy as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't as deep as I got into Alpha Phoenix, which was very like cosmic and, this got that whole thing to it. But I was writing this thing that just felt very in line with that and with what was going on around me in the world, like the actual reality of like 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a huge spoiler alert, so I'll go ahead and say it, but like we all know about supernovas. Well, at that time, during that year, there was something called a monster nova that came out. It's like a supernova that happened at the corner of the universe, but it was bigger than the scientists. I started getting into really deep, deep space science and like NASA stuff. I was like following a lot of that stuff during that time, and I was like, oh wow, we're really tethered to what's going on, whether or not we want to admit it or acknowledge it, right? So I'm sitting there kind of having this like spiritual awakening at this time that like the world's falling apart and it's like becoming fodder for my book, and I'm like, wait, this is something that's been percolating. This character has been percolating in me for a long time. And that's what kind of forced me to look back at Flickr too. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, oh darn. Like, this is the same character of the lineage of like 18 years, which if you break that down, and the only reason I say 18 years is I started writing Flickr. Right. 18, now it's more than 18 years, but at that time, 18 years prior, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a journey. This is a lifespan. This is a girl going from, girlhood, into this like this maiden to mother kind of journey in this like awakening process that happens with that. And it's like a very real thing in this really fictionalized way. And I was like, okay, once I started realizing that and there was this connection, I had to like bridge the gap. Like, the name of my character in Alpha Phoenix was Lily. Right. It was Lilith. It was very much the character. Yeah. I took that same character, that same name, and I would, did that with a third book I was writing. The first book was Paige. And Paige, I just liked it. It was kind of like turn the page, kind of like this thing. And I was like, okay, cool, but this is actually the same person. And I was like, how do I stream these very I want to say different storylines, because they're not, it's really character focused, right? So that's what I had to do. I had to really focus on the character, right? And so that's why I decided to like have her incarnate in like this reality and this like really weird thing that happened. And I'm like reading this like 21-year-old version of my writing, right? And I was like, dang, like I was a good writer back then too. And how do I stream this very sci-fi fantasy, like ethereal message into this, like, and weave this in? So hopefully that came through. But that's pretty much how that came together. It really, I guess, like, sorry, like a long-winded way to answer the question is it really took silence. It really took me and the world, like, to stop.
Well, you know what? Taking time out
right
is actually necessary in our lives.
Thank you for saying that.
Just for us to line up what's going on around us, and especially at that time.
Yeah.
So I understand that, that was an important element in your life.
Absolutely.
For you to all of a sudden stand back and look and think, wow, okay, this has taken me how long? How many years before you came out with Lilith?
You're right. And then so I worked on it consistently from 2020 to when I officially published it 2022, but it was actually like I was done with it prior to that. It wasn't until that time that I'd say I was brave enough. Yeah. Like, how dare I write these things, and then how dare I stream them together into one cohesive message? How dare I talk about these things that you know, like in my own way, yeah, I definitely would say I was having a spiritual awakening in 2020.
Yeah.
And it totally aside from what was going on in the outside world, I actually felt that in myself. Halfway through 2019, I started like really feeling like these like messages and downloads and like communing with Goddess. I had this gig that I was doing in Great America, and I think I said this last time in our interview. I would pray every single time I got up onto that lollipop. There were a lot of reasons why. It was dangerous. I was up, like, I was taller than the rig. I was on like this huge shipping crate. You know, there's like fog machines happening in my face, and like, but I remember seeing the moon, and I would like pray specifically to Diana, and it was bizarre because I must in my past life, like lives or whatever, been like a pagan or some sort, but I don't know that kind of stuff. Like, some people actually practice this, and I don't. And so it's like, I don't want to be, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Is when you're appropriating. I don't want to appropriate. At the same time, that was very real what I was feeling, and like, and so I started like really tapping into something. It was like, I want to say August, September of like 2019 that like clearly resonated throughout the rest, and like, and so when we circle back to like 2022 when I actually published the book, that took a lot of bravery. And let's talk about now. It's July 2nd, 2026. I'm finally like doing interviews about it and doing author talks about it. It's scary, and like the messages and themes that are in that book are really real, and that's something that like for me to like write down and make public facing, like it's out there, people can buy it, you know, like, and people did. My last author talk was so funny that we did our interview 2 days I think before I had my author talk.
That's right.
It went amazing. I could not have asked for it better. It was beautiful, and I had 2 people buy the book in, you know,
even better.
Right. I know. I was like, I wasn't even, you know, expecting that. I was like stoked to even have people there, right? It's like, and like the fact that like I was sitting there talking with these, I actually let my approach, and this is going to be my approach for my next author talk, which I will have at Bransford Library on September. It's tentative September 16th, but as of right now, it's September 16th. It's a Wednesday. Bransford Library in Santa Cruz. I'm going to do my same approach. I'm going to let the people ask questions and lead the author talk, because I know what all this content is. I've spent, you know, my whole life pretty much like putting this together. I really am interested in hearing what people are interested in, and it was so funny because during that author talk, it's like having people nod along to things that I was saying. It's like, that's so cool. They get it. It's I don't have to convince people
because this is not a simple book, people. This is not a simple book. I'll vouch for that. And let me talk about Lilith's journey involves remembering ancient pacts and integrating forgotten aspects of herself. So how does this mirror the way you, as the author, remembered and unified her across your body of work?
I love that, Susan. So this book, I'm a channel for the book. I absolutely would love to take credit for it, but it's not. It's something so much more divine, so much higher than me. And yet it passes through me as if I'm a filter, right, for it. And so I do resonate with a lot of it as far as like incarnation, Akashic work, like higher spiritual journeys, things like that. And as I'm learning, because I'm a student of all of this all of the time, I feel like it resonates with me. There's like things for me, writing this book felt familiar rather than learning new concepts. It was like a reminder, like everything that came to me and that is coming to me and still to this day. And I actually probably should be better about like allowing messages and things to flow, because you know, you get caught up in the minutia and the daily stuff.
The noise will definitely eradicate some of that.
I feel like I feel like I'm in the noise right now, and so it's like getting back into this mythical. It's like, I don't know if you see it, like my body language, my face is lighting up. Like, this is exciting to me because I have to remember, like, we're cells, we're energy. We concentrate all of this down into like this human existence, but there's so much more than that. And so like it's almost overwhelming. You can get like, like a lot of times got overwhelmed with messages and things. If you think about the vastness of it all, especially if you, like, I'm again a student of this like concept of, I think we are all stardust. You know, we are parts of these like particles and things. That's like huge. That's a huge concept. There's like,
that's a massive topic,
right?
Right
it's like,
there.
where do you even
Yeah.
like, where does that separation
Right.
happen, right? So that's massive. That's like,
Yeah.
you know, philosophy and like science and all these things. And okay, so the journey. So I'm sorry, do you mind repeating the question really quick? Because I feel like I'm really on the cusp of answering it. I just need that,
Well, what I was saying is, how does it mirror you as the author, and you know,
okay.
remembered and unified?
Yeah. I feel like I am every day on this journey. I feel like I am on that, and I really highly sci-fi fictionalized this particular character and this particular journey that she's on, because you know, it's more fun. It was more fun to write.
She's a dark character, though, Lilith.
She is a, you know, it's
You know?
funny. She's a dark character.
Yeah.
Are you referring to
It's the
Lilith?
dark feminine rising, and really, you know, she's something very wise and powerful and dark, in my eyes.
Absolutely. So I really love that you said, because so I think there was a level of maturity I needed to achieve to be able to finish this book, to
Right.
be able to actually give this character, the storyline, the seamlessness, the throwaway, if you will, through this book that I didn't have prior to that. Like I want to say, like, I guess it was sort of a spiritual awakening in 2019 that I kind of went through. And I
Right.
was, if you think about that, I was 20s, or not 20. Oh God. I was like 37. No, I was 34. So I'm starting this, you know, very real, linear, you can pinpoint, you know, a woman's life and kind of like the different
Right.
things. So I'm starting this thing, and I didn't realize I was descending. And I want to say descending in a very tender way, because descending has this like kind of negative connotation to it, when in fact, if you descend into yourself, you're just rediscovering the wholeness of yourself, right? So I started doing this without realizing it, like not at all having the vocabulary that I have now, you know.
Right.
Hindsight is 20/20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, doing this thing and didn't realize it. And then, you know, the pandemic happens and all this stuff. And I just remember feeling these like really depths.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I feel so much. Like, what is that? What is it? And instead of like shying away from it, I kind of leaned into it and was like, yeah, that's real. Like that is like real darkness. That is like real thing. Or like this suppressed thing, or like, what is that? Where did that come from? They're asking these questions and exploring these things. And I think allowing that space for dissension is really important. And so, yeah, there's a darkness, definitely. And the darkness is beautiful.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that once you can see it. And
Right.
that took me, I mean, that's, God, I feel like I'm still grappling with things like that. You know, like, I mean, I don't think we ever really get over that.
Yeah.
You always...
So you just deepened your own understanding, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we're really, as human beings, we're really, you know, a lot to unpack. And I feel like we don't exist in that way. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely an appropriate, you know, place to do that healing work, if you will, and then place to show up, you know, in the way, like, but if you do, you know, I feel like for me too, it took me looking inside and like going into that well of myself to like really be like, oh yeah, it's not ugly. Like, I'm not ugly. These things I've like shied away from, or told myself that I'm not good enough, or been told that I'm not good, or whatever it is. They're fine. They're just pieces of myself that are like, you know, that need that TLC, that need that love.
So, I mean, all through this time, were you reading books in the same genre? I mean, because when I read your book, I was just like, where did this come from? How did she get her head around this?
Did you do the full cover to cover? You've read it all?
Not yet.
Yeah,
but,
okay. I was going to say,
no, because as I was getting into it, I was like, whoa, where's this come from?
I love that you asked that. So it's really funny. They're short of the like. I'm gonna try not to get my ego all wrapped up into this, but like, really, I don't think it is. But I sort of have always known this is like my life calling.
Yeah.
This has been like, this is the thing I'm going to do. This is why I'm here. This is, and that there's a little bit of appeasement in that, because it was like, wow, it took me 18 years.
Yes.
Good thing.
Yes.
Good thing this is what I'm here for, because it didn't take overnight, right?
Yeah, no, it's not a
Right.
quick right for sure.
So I would say my impetus and a lot of the inspiration has come from really just like, I love a self-help book.
Okay.
I love a like, let's dig into let's get to the meat of it. I'm like a big fan of like direct communication. Let's get to the heart of it. Let's actually find the problem and let's fix the damn thing. Or, like, let's just investigate. Maybe there isn't something to fix, right? But this is now 42-year-old Jeanette talking.
Right.
So I can actually like say things like that. But I've always been really interested in psychology, I think, and like the introspection, and like what was great about this character and Lilith is she's third person to me, right? I can talk about her, right? And I can put her over there, and I don't have to embody that.
Right.
My next book that I'm writing,
Yes.
which is terrified, I'm going to write that in first person.
Oh.
And it's really scary. That's a really scary thing, because especially with what I'm doing with her. But like, so there's this kind of objectify.
Yeah.
And I think my fodder for that, and like the inspiration I've drawn, has been this journey that I was sort of on simultaneous to creating this character, in all these like investigating myself. And I should talk to Elisa about this too, because like she's doing this with her book, you know, is like it digging into this journey of like, what is this journey? But for me, it was really,
well, Elisa's actually writing a screenplay, isn't she?
Yeah. Now I don't.
Yeah.
I think she's probably still going to do her book, but it's very much of the same process, and it executed differently.
Right.
And mine was like, I've always been really, and you can tell this with my business too, with Stellaria Creative Company and all this stuff. I've always been really into this fantastical element, like fantasy and glitter and charm, all this crazy stuff. I'm an aerialist. Like, let's go extra. So I guess I do that in my writing as well, where I'm like, let's highly fictionalize this character, but that's having this real journey, like this real human journey, but that she becomes like the phoenix bird, like all these crazy things. I don't want to spoiler alert, but like, all these different things that are happening, but like it's actually a really real human experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I took a lot of my journey through that. And if you think about like the 18-year trajectory that the book took, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. So, has this immersive storytelling that you're now very well entrenched in, has that disciplinary approach helped you track and evolve a single character through different books and genres?
I love that. So yes, oh my gosh, it's funny that I just talked about this new book that I want to write, because you totally tapped into that. I so don't want to make this new character, Jules. I've named her, love her. I so don't want to make her an iteration of Lilith. I'm trying so hard not to.
Yeah.
And it's really hard not to, because Lilith is like a piece of my identity, right? That I like, yes, I made her third person. I objectified. She's over here. She has her own story. I mean, some of the book itself was like inspired by true events that happened with me, So it's hard to really like remove myself from that.
Can you say what those two events were?
Sure. A lot of Europe.
Yeah.
I did. Okay. Well, I did actually get kidnapped in Spain. I'm okay. I'm obviously here. I'm good. Yeah, it was more of a manipulative kidnapping than it was like a physical kidnapping. It was, I got robbed when I was in Barcelona. It was, so I had let's backtrack slightly. Okay, I'm gonna do an abridged version. I'm fine. I'm safe. We're good.
Yeah.
I had an abusive relationship in France. It was with not a French man. It was with a guy who was from South Dakota, and he was an abusive guy. He, spent time in prison. I remember, I pick him really well. So
at that point in your life,
I know.
The good husband came along later, though. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. So 21 years, yeah. Yeah, good looking. I used to compare it, like, you look like Eminem, all the tats and all the stuff. Yeah, bad boy, very quintessential. Well, it was an abusive relationship. I got out of that relationship.
Yeah.
I made it out alive. We're good.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I took some time during that spring break of when I was in France. And I wanted to go travel. So I went to Spain. I went to Barcelona. As soon as I got there, I got into a hostel. And it was really cool. I met a bunch of these like South African like friends. They were really sweet. They're like, hey, come out with us. Well, I had just gotten to Spain, right?
Yeah.
I don't speak a lick of Spanish.
No.
Right? I speak
No, we
French.
established that when you went to work in Mexico.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
I know how to say yo soy un coreografía and like el baño. That's pretty much it. So I was like, cool. I have my passport on me. I have everything on me. I'm like, yeah, let's go. They invited me out. I'll go out with you guys. No problem. I bring everything with me because I didn't have a chance. Like I literally got to the hostel and they were going out. And they're like, come with us. Cool. Okay. So I go with them. I'm hanging out with this guy on the beach. I'm like, oh, we're kind of flirty, whatever. My bag's over here. A couple guys came and grabbed my bag.
It, yeah.
Oh yeah. This became a whole thing. So we like ran after the guy. They're throwing bottles at us. Like this is wild, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, he's got can see my purse. Like
Right.
I need to grab it back. So me and this guy are trying to like get this bag back, and like the guy becomes really hostile. We call the police. They run away with my bag, and I'm like, no, but I see it. Like, oh my god, how did I take everything? Took everything. So I spent that night with this guy in the police station in Barcelona with a whole bunch of other tourists, by the way,
who've also been robbed. Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, we were all. I mean, it's littered with all these tourists, and I was like, oh my god, right?
Yeah.
So that did happen.
Yeah.
That made it in my book. That did happen. The guy felt so bad, which it wasn't his fault. It was, both of us weren't paying attention. It wasn't. So he gives me like 200 euro, and I was like, thank you so much. You don't have to do that. And he's like, no, like at least get your train back to, I had a police report that was written in Castilian, and I still actually have that. That's saying, she had a train ticket back to France, like blah, 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 all this stuff. So I could have gone back.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, because I'd planned to go there, and then I had planned to go to Lilith de Mar for a dance competition, to watch a dance competition. And I was like, cool, I wanted to do this. And he's like, well, at least at least you can do that. Like, you can get your train back to France. Here's some euro. Like, go have a good spring break. Like, that sucked. That was your first day of your spring break. Like, whatever. So I was like, that's really nice of you. Thank you. So I go to Lilith de Mar, and I go to where my hotel was supposed to be. Well, evidently, my hotel hadn't charged my card. I don't have any money on me. I have only this euro.
Yes.
And so I had to sleep in the lobby of this. And ironically, it was the hotel that this dance competition was. So I'm like watching these dancers come in and out. I'm sleeping on this couch in the middle of it. Thankfully, the guy who worked at the hotel was really sweet and let me do that.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, shoot, right? Like I need to either go home or something. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, right? I'm sitting on a park bench outside of Homer's Bar in Lilith de Mar, Spain, south of Spain. Beautiful location. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I have like a certain amount of euro. I can take a bus back to the train station. And mind you, part of the reason I did all that is because it was Easter. It was Easter break. And it was actually Easter. And so I could not get to the consulate. I couldn't get anywhere that could help me. So I'm like, okay. Sitting on this park bench, I'm like, I think I had like a scrap of food or something. And I'm like, I gotta figure what I gotta do. Like I need to do something. And this guy comes out of the Homer's Bar and he goes, hey, what's going on? Like, you look like you're really upset. And he's he was Scottish. He was a Scottish guy. But he speaks English. Right. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, yeah, well, this and this and this happened. I told him what happened. He's like, oh, that sucks. He's like, if you need some money, we can hire you as a waitress. I'm like, okay. So I start working there as a waitress. Well, it happened to be that all the unis from England, all the rugby players, everyone, they were having a huge tournament. So they all come. Okay. So they needed another waitress. Yes. So I start working there and they pay me a little bit. Well, this guy that had like hired me or whatever, he was kind of the bouncer. He also worked at this bar, but he was basically trying to trick me into working there and staying there. So I did. And I did stay with him. I stayed in his like, he was in a hotel. I don't know why he was in a hotel, but I stayed there.
Yeah.
And then I met a woman from Wales who worked at a different bar who was like, that's not a good situation that you're in right now. And he started becoming really protective.
Okay.
Almost as if like he owned me.
Oh.
And like, he would like not let me, like, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna grab my bag. And he'd be like, no, I'll get it. And he like wouldn't let me like, it was really kind of a weird manipulative situation. She's like, she's like, I'm seeing this from outside perspective and I don't like this. You're gonna stay with me. And so I stayed with her.
Okay.
And she's like, you should probably go. Like, you should probably get out of the situation. And so I stayed with her for a couple nights and I was like, you know what? You're right. This is bad. This is like, I can see this being like a really toxic thing. And
thank you,
like,
Welsh woman.
What's that?
I said, thank you, Welsh woman.
I know. She was such a sweetheart. Rhiannon. I remember her name. Yeah. No, what a doll. She was just such a sweetheart. And she's like, he has a history of some things. And she's like, just, I want you, I love you, I want you to be here and stuff. And she's like, but this isn't healthy. And I was like, I see what you're saying. I see exactly what you're pointing to, and you're right.
Yeah.
So the next day, I went and I got a bus back to the train station, and I made my way back to France.
Right.
And kind of worked everything out after that fact. But yeah, no, I was in Lorette de Mar for about a week.
Oh wow.
That had happened for about a week. And what she was pointing to was there was behavior where, like, one of the unis, and he was actually an inspiration, one of the characters in the book. I think I actually named him in the book. Simon was his real name, and I think that's the name that I kept him in the book.
I'll look out for Simon.
Yeah, Simon. Good looking uni gentleman. But I don't know if I should just say his name, but like Paul was his name, was like super, super jealous of this like flirty interaction that I would have at this uni. And like, and this guy was, a decade or so too, maybe even older than me. But so it started becoming weird. And that's where it was like, oh, so yeah, I mean, that whole chunk of the book, not like the underlying events were inspired by true events, but like obviously what happened and transpired, I embellished quite a bit on. So none of that was real. Simon's alive and everything, as far as I know.
Right.
But yeah, it was so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So we've got another book to come. And when do you suppose that'll be out?
Oh gosh, it's really funny. I can so tell that I'm writing this book in 2026 because I've dabbled with the idea. Okay, so I didn't touch AI. Dark Star, Reclaiming Lilith is all me. Okay, 100%.
Yeah, well, AI wasn't around.
It wasn't.
It couldn't have been AI.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, even 2022, when the book was published, I don't think AI was really even it may have been like bubbling up at that point, or
not
people were
much
talking about it. Yeah. Now it's funny because I'm like, the only reason I would even look to like possibly consulting AI is because I'm writing her character first person.
Right.
And that's like a really real thing. So.
And this is Jewel now. This is not
Jules.
Lilith. Lilith we've waved goodbye to.
Yes.
Have we?
Okay.
Or does
I love
she
that you asked that.
infiltrate a little bit?
I have batted around with the idea of being like, is Jules the pre-incarnation of Lilith?
Oh,
But,
interesting.
which could very well be. I've played around with that idea.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I really kind of want to make her have her own story. And especially like, I mean, writing it first person is a choice I'm making because, okay, so this book, this will be really fun, came from a still image that I have in my head that it's kind of like a reoccurring image. And this image actually took place before I really wrapped Dark Star, Reclaiming Lilith, and I think helped me wrap that book because it's its own iteration.
Right.
So that being said, it's like genuine journey, I think needs to be separate.
Okay.
It takes place kind of a smaller woman, middle-aged, blonde, on a bridge, cobblestone bridge, very clear night time, like very deep night. Like moon's up there, full moon.
Right.
I want to say because I spent some time in France and had a really deep connection with
Yes.
France, the country.
She spoke about last interview.
Yeah, exactly. But she's not in France. Is she French? I think so. I think she's French. But she is on a cobblestone bridge overlooking, I guess I might be giving too much away, but this is the essence of this book, and that everything everything transpires from this one image I have in my head. She's overlooking a meeting she should not be witnessing.
Okay.
The meeting is, okay, so there's a little bit of water under this bridge. She's cobblestone. She's looking. She knows exactly what's going on. She's in a dark, a black cloak, hooded cloak. Not yet. That's happening. I'll tell you in a minute. Sorry, I was going to say something back here, but it will be in a second. She's overlooking this meeting. It's happening with like lanterns, so it's before electricity. It's a meeting among men. And it's a meeting constructing the current patriarchal system.
Okay.
And it's a meeting talking about how they're going to use religion as power.
Oh, right.
It is a meeting she should not be overhearing.
Yep.
And she's listening in on it, knowing there is going to be repercussion. And she hears the horses from like the henchmen, the soldiers coming to get her. Like she knows she's not supposed to be here. Very aware of that. Also very aware of the fact that they know that now she knows, right?
That's a wonderful introduction. I'm going to stop you there.
Perfect.
Let's stop you there. That's a wonderful taster, right?
That's pretty much how the book opens.
Okay, so there we are. So that's on the cards. And, of course, Lilith is already out there. Tell us where we can find Lilith. We want to buy it.
Yeah, of course. Amazon is where I just send people. I mean, I know we...
Right.
Bookshop Santa Cruz was carrying it. I think I had consignment, so I had to take them back, but I think I can bring them back. There's also now a copy at the Scotts Valley Library, which there will be other copies at other libraries too.
Yes.
Amazon, my website.
Yeah.
You can go JeanetteBent.com. You can go StellariaCreativeCompany.com because Stellaria is the official publisher.
Right.
We publish.
Yes, which is your company.
Yes, that is my company.
Yes.
Storytelling.
Yes.
Publishing, production. There you go.
That's you.
Yep. But yes. I mean, I would love for people to read it.
Yeah.
And then soon to be audiobook.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Yes, I wonder who the voice of that is.
Oh, I don't know. It might be me.
Yes, perhaps. No, I think you were the perfect person for it. It's so funny, Susan, because honestly, like, people had asked me, they're like, oh yeah, I would absolutely read the book. And I say that in bunny air quotes because you're not really reading if you're audiobook, but I understand.
Yeah.
People are busy. I mean, when I had my 1 hour commute pretty much every day, I would listen to
It's
something.
a great way to listen to books.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I understand the validity behind that. And I started to try and do that when I first published the book, but then I realized there's so many characters and it's so nuanced and like, this is a really hard thing to do. And then there's like, do I do AI or do I, and I tried that for a minute and I was like, oh, that's terrible. And like, then I'm like, I can't afford to like pay all these actors and, the Audible like does that.
Yes.
You can do that with Audible.
Yes.
And so I just kind of put it down. So for you to come in and really step in and like own this audio version of this book is really an honor.
Well, thank you, but it's really an honor to be reading it. It's such a deep, exciting book.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I highly recommend people go out and get themselves a copy and look out for the jewels coming up.
Yeah.
And let's now, because of time, we're always constricted with time with you, Jeanette, because there's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about.
Let's talk about the 831. Now, you said in your last interview, that the one day arrived and everybody lost their job at the same time from the station you were working with. Yeah. And so you just kind of sat and thought, right, what am I going to do to come back here, right? Okay, so tell us how the 831 got started.
Yeah, it actually started with a couple of people like in my ear saying the same thing. So that was when I pulled, again, inferences and pulling thorough threads or what they call it, like threads together.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there is something here. Because I thought it too. I just happened to have these other two people saying the same thing to me within like a day. Yeah. This is like very much happening in the same vein. So it started off with those people who I'll name, Lee Solomon and Neil Perlberg and myself, all thinking the same thing. Right. Believing the same thing, going with it, right? Now almost 9 months, 10 months, 9 going on 10 months later, we've all kind of like grown in our different pathways and like had our own inferences. But in that beginning time, we were all in the same, that we didn't know how to do it. We didn't know what we were doing, but we knew there was something that needed to come from this.
Right.
And it was all very equal. Like those two were saying they happened to know each other just from being surfers.
Yes.
But that's it. They didn't know each other any other way.
Okay.
And so
but they're
it was
all
interesting.
journalists, right?
Yeah.
All journalists. Yeah.
So for everybody to be like drawing these same inferences together without any sort of like similar, minus the thing that happened.
Right.
Yeah, like Lee and I were working at the same news station that got shut down. Okay.
Right.
Granted, we had that same experience. We were all kind of like coming. So it's really funny because that happened. That was a Tuesday that happened. I remember Lee calling me on Wednesday. Neil had me on his podcast Off the Lip on Thursday.
Okay.
Friday, both Neil and Lee, not both, all of us, Lee, Neil, and I ended up here at Shea Serendip.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We ended up here because this was the place that we were like, well, if we're going to do something different and we're going to go independent, I don't need a space personally.
Right.
I can do what I do on the go. It's what MMJs are kind of trained to do. But,
Right.
Lee, being weather guy, needs a green screen. He needs an actual physical space. So it's going to show him that. And then same with Neil, just being like, hey, he can kind of do things on the fly too, but there's also the space here. So we came here and we were walking, we took like a selfie right out there, and we were like really pumped and really like, yeah, there's something here. Well, what happened is it's still going. That's still definitely a thing. And we're all very, lovely. Like he's got his own, he's got kind of a personal, thing he's dealing with right now. But like he wanted to start his own weather brand.
Right.
So that's awesome. So, well, what happened, so we're kind of like building this thing and doing this as we go. And we're like, wow, there must be a space for this in the world. There must be a need for this. There must be like some sort of like demand because people are asking for this, right? Like it was that the following Thursday. So the three of us come up here on that Friday. The following, I think, if I'm right, that might have been the day after. Anyways, but we ended up on Neil's Off the Lip, Lee and I.
Right.
And we talked about this thing the three of us were building. We're really in the background. Like I wasn't actually expecting to talk about it at all.
Right.
And I sort of happened to already, just because I know how to do entrepreneurism, I know how to like start a business, I know how to like create the Facebook page and do the .com and all of things. So I was doing that in the background because we were all talking about it, coming up with a logo and that sort of thing. And I turned to Substack again because actually Elisa is the one who introduced me to Substack, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool platform. This is different. It's not, it doesn't feel like it's a social media platform. You can venture to say it is, but it houses all these different types of media. So
it's like a magazine, really.
It is. It's like almost an interactive magazine in a way, right? So I was like, okay, this is kind of neat. This may work for us. So I took, the 831 off of it. I took 831 on Facebook and 831 on eventually Instagram. I didn't start that until afterwards. But so I kind of had these like sitting in the background. I remember it was like one Saturday, it might have been the Saturday after we all came up here or whatever, and I was like playing around with like 5 different logo ideas. And I was like asking my family, I like sent, what ended up being the logo. It was like to people because everyone loved that logo. And I was like, cool, okay. Like,
yeah, it's Santa Cruz, that logo.
Right, it's Santa Cruz. And that's also like, that also goes to show in its inception how collaborative the 831 is. I know how to do my own business. I know how to be a solo entrepreneur. I know how to be sole prop. I know how to do all this stuff. I know how to grow a business. I know how to go from ideation, growing the business, the growing pains that comes with it. With my studio, I had a lot of that experience like firsthand. And then how to sell a successful business. So cool. That's not what this is. And I knew that from the beginning. I was like, this isn't the Jeanette show. I have my own shows and those are cool. And I'll pour my own energy into that and like Dark Star and all this stuff. Like those are my shows. Cool. This is something different.
Right.
And we didn't like, from that beginning place, I knew it was a collaboration. So it's always been a collaboration. I consult with Neil. I just did yesterday. I was talking to him about certain things and then I love that the fact that like now we're 9 months, almost 10 months into this, because it was a solid week,
right?
Basically from when the newsroom shut down. like, I want to say it was like accidentally went public with it, but like Neil asked me about it.
Yeah.
And on his podcast. And
Mind
that
you,
was
a
1
week
week.
isn't a long time.
A week is not a long time.
That is a very fast pivot.
It's a very fast pivot.
Yeah.
Thank you for it.
Yeah.
And I spent a solid, like, once I realized that the demand was there, that people really do want this, I had like come to God moment of being like, okay, well, am I going to do this? Am I going to, like, and it's not me again, this is the Jeanette show. I happen to know how to initiate and do the things.
Right.
But I was like, this isn't a joke. This isn't a game. This is like one of those things that you're all in or you're not.
Right.
And so when I committed that to myself, I was like, okay, there were a lot of 1 a.m. nights I had to have, like, to just pull this stuff together. And like, and I knew, I was like, yeah, this is going to be burnout. This is recipe for burnout, all this stuff. And so I've had to like really toggle with that particular, but it's neat because, we were just talking about this last weekend was my birthday weekend, and I was able to go away and unplug, and I did. And 5 MMJs just did their thing during that weekend. And so we had content. So it's not like we were like gone because I was unplugged, because that's not what it is, right?
Yeah,
It's not, it shouldn't be reliant on me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love that. Yeah. And so there's this, like, I don't want to sound like a martyr. I feel like I sound like a martyr.
Yes.
Like in a way, like I definitely feel like it's bigger than me. Well, not in a way, it is bigger than me. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not the Jeanette show. People can go sign up for my stuff. I have my stuff, right?
Right.
And people are choosing to be a part of the 831, be in conversation, sign up, subscribe, all the stuff, support. It's neat because, a few days ago, something came up with like e-bike vouchers. Downtown employees get, a rebate, e-bike vouchers. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I'm going to write a little something about it.
Right.
So I put something together and I put it out there. And every time I put something up, which is something I'll have to go over the MMJs a little bit more, but anytime I put something up on Substack, I try to like push it out on socials, and like there are ways to add contributors so it like shows up on people's feeds, which just performs better, right?
Right.
So I did that. Well, that became like this huge like viral conversation about e-bikes in Santa Cruz.
All right.
It's just so funny because it was just talking about how like they're making it more affordable with the cost of living, like city of Santa Cruz, like just a news piece that became like this whole discussion.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it? I mean,
Yep.
it's the local news. People need to know that.
Well, and that, thank you.
And then but it's not only local news; it's many other things.
Right. Right, and that's I think that's the magic behind it, is like the way people engage with it. Like there's a container, and maybe I'm the host of the container or the manager of the container. I manage lots of containers, right? I manage my household, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. But it's not, at the end of the day, it's really the people's engagement and what they want too. Like that's something I think we're still trying to figure out with the 831, but it's also kind of inherently built into the fact that it's the 831 a collective, where we're going to have different people talking about different things in this container.
Oh, yes.
And like a lot of Elisa's stuff and, your stuff and everything, like certain things really hit and really engage, and some things don't. And I have to try and pull back and be like, don't pass judgment on like what's performing well and what's not, because something is going to land on somebody differently than it's going to land on the other person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's all important.
Yeah, it's a different world. It's for everybody. Yeah. So where are we going to go from here now? Well, Lisa just mentioned something. Should we talk about that a little minute?
Yeah, we can. So the 831 is going.
Yeah.
Like we're going. We're in. She did touch on something that I can elaborate further on, which yes, we are an LLC, a legitimate, LLC. The paperwork was filed like to a point where I need to start like doing like the taxes and stuff like that, but I'll do that because I'm the manager, managing member. Paying our MMJs, right? It's a modest amount.
I think you need to classify MMJ.
Oh,
We've heard that term a lot.
I
There might be some people who don't know what an MMJ is.
What is an MMJ? Multimedia journalist.
There we go.
And honestly, I think the best definition of an MMJ are the folks who report for the 831. Like, we could be like, yeah, MMJ at KION, and that was cute. And sometimes I would have a photog. Like,
Yes.
you know, I went out and did the Moss Landing thing, and I had a photog.
Yes.
Isaiah
For
was
which you're being nominated an Emmy. We'll slip that one in again.
I know. I was so excited. Though that's part of the reason we couldn't choose that particular weekend to
Right.
do our 831 dinner. Which that will be coming soon.
Yeah.
But it's cool because I really think that MMJ, the heart of like the definition of what this multimedia journalist is, it's like gritty. It's you go out and you do the thing, and we can be in the garden, we can go and do that. That's a multimedia journalist. And I
Right.
feel like the 831 just really embodies that. Like,
Yeah.
we're not telling. Actually, it's really funny. I'm not going to say who it is because it's very, very new right now, but there is a really well-known, newly established MMJ on the Central Coast that we're going to be working with, probably, very likely.
Okay.
And I can say he, she. I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
He is very much the quintessential definition of what you say in MMJ. It's just guerrilla. It's almost like it is almost guerrilla journalism, but
Yeah.
but now I feel like it's so much grittier than what MMJ was. 10 years ago. There was MMJ 10 years ago, but it's now so much more important too. I feel like you need to know how to get out there and like report on things and do the stuff and like and shoot,
That's right.
do all the things.
Well, there's a lot of people that are turning away from main channel news these days because they just feel that, it's so controlled. They're not actually getting the truth out.
Yeah.
So, avenues like this are
Right.
actually made for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's what's so funny. Like, honestly, like because like I said, I'm very much a channel and a vessel, and if when on my good days I'm remembering that it's not me that's driving the ship, it's actually a lot bigger than this, then I can be like, oh, cool. I accidentally stumbled upon Substack.
Yeah.
Thank goddess I did that, because that is such a great platform for us,
Yeah.
and like, and they keep evolving, and like, I keep watching institutions and people very famous, like former President Barack Obama,
Right.
take
Yes.
to Substack.
Yes, he's on that.
Yeah, right. And things like that, like Santa Cruz Works, Doug, not Abrams. That's the different Doug, but different
Yeah.
Doug. He, Santa Cruz Works, he put that on Substack, and he is allowing us to syndicate some of his material, which is really grateful,
Yes.
Gracious, of him, and like really cool things. So I'm like, wow, like we really kind of like happily accidentally stumbled upon this amazing thing that's like really providing service to us and like really allowing a reach. And to your point, it's like, no, there's no what do we this is a whole different conversation, but like, what do you deem news, right? Anything is news, everything is news. But the truth behind that, right? And then but also the truth, and not being like I don't know how to say it, like not exposing what doesn't need to be exposed. Like in that way, what am I saying? So like a good example would be Rosemary Chalmers. Love her. I do my weekly, I'm a guest on her show.
Yeah.
Good Morning Monterey Bay.
Right.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Syndicated on the 831. Happily provide that show. A couple weeks ago, she made a really good point. She was saying how a talk show host had kind of ousted Whitney Houston before her passing, because she kind of slipped into like drug behavior. She was outward about that. Whitney Houston was, but just like how this thing came out like a decade or so after her passing that like didn't really need to be aired.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that's true. Some things are just better left like
alone,
not said. So so in that, it's like, how much truth do we need exposed? Or do we want exposed? It's like, well, obviously, if you're reporting on something, you need the truth out there.
Yes.
And then to that point too, it's like, what is worth reporting on? Well, everything is news. My former boss and I have had that discussion where it's like, we would always like be baffled when our MMJs would come in with no pitches.
Right.
How do you not have a pitch?
Right.
How do you not have something you want to like talk about? So, but we also learned there was a greenness that him and I have a lot more experience in.
Yeah.
Anything is news. Anything and everything can be news.
Sure.
But you're right. People are straying away from mainstream media because mainstream media tends to, I want to say, like carve out a certain don't want to say brand. How do I say this? They want to carve out a certain perspective depending on the brand, right? I know that there is a news outlet that was a staple when I was in J school, so 20 years ago.
Right.
20 years ago. I can't believe I can say that. Next year I will have graduated college 20 years ago. That we listened to and would watch, that now I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so one-sided.
Right.
But back 20 years ago, it wasn't. It was something with, I'll say the other institution, because the other one I personally think is still very much like neutral, is AP Wire. It's been 180 years or something like that. AP. Yeah. And the other one, we were trained as journalists. It's now just such a different, it's very skewed. And it's interesting because that's 20 years ago, which is a long time, but at the same time, I remember it very, 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 being like, no, that was something that we were taught to be like, this is a staple. This and this are staples. And these are the two neutral journalism platforms you can always go to. And it's like, nah, it's not true.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's so much content around us everywhere now. Everywhere we turn. We don't know what's real, what's not real. So I think if you can just gather together a platform like the 831 Substack is, and know that when you're listening to that, you're actually got the real facts going on.
Right.
Right. That's so important.
Right. And that's the thing too, is I think that's really important. I think the number one, there are a couple really great factors that the 831 has an advantage over, and one of them is we have no overhead. Short of the people, the professionals, which is the other thing, that are coming to the table bringing their professionalism. Those people definitely should be paid, and that's the only overhead, really, because they're professional, so they have their own equipment. They're doing their own thing. That's another thing that I really wanted to maintain in the beginning, is I'm not going to ask somebody who has their own branding or has their own platform to change or alter to fit this container. No, you have a seat at the table as yourself, or as your brand, whatever it is.
Which is valuable.
Exactly. So it's like that saying, high tide raises all boats kind of thing. I agree with that. And also too, it's not we're not inviting people who aren't professional. That's the thing. It's not to say this person's better than this person. It's no, we want to maintain this caliber of, quality news and quality, not even just, the word news for me has such a connotation to it that it could just be me, but storytelling, news,
storytelling,
whatever. Exactly. That professionals, can come to, or it's somebody who's learning how to do it. Sure, there's a place for that. I haven't personally bumped up against that yet, because I've only had professionals, really.
Right.
There is somebody, one of the new folks that I'm talking about having join. I feel has a little bit of room for mentorship, and if they're open for that, that'd be great. And at the same time, there is a level of professionalism this particular individual brings to the table that's sort of new. It's kind of a neat space to be in to watch this too, from managing editor position.
Right.
But it's really cool, and that's what the 831 ethos is all about. It's really about the professionals who live in this area, reporting on this area, in the grit, in the nitty gritty. Neil's out there and with his phone at a coffee shop, we're here at Shea and Dip, and all the different things that just unfiltered, really coming to it.
And now the dinners are going to come, the support dinners, right?
It's so funny because I know. Okay, so let's mark the day. It's July 2nd. We're sitting back here in Shea and Dip, and a year from now we should revisit this conversation, because I know, I'm very aware of this, and I've been through this before, and I love it, and I'm gonna curl up in the fetal position and cry about it later. I know the 831 is gonna grow past me. I'm aware of that. I'm very aware that I can take it as a managing editor, as the entrepreneur, the person who put the business filings together, and so I can take it to a certain point, and it's going to grow. It's going to want to grow. The lifespan of this wants to get bigger, and it's going to be amazing. And I see that. I've known that from day one. Okay, so mark my words right now. July 2nd. Here we are, 2026. It's amazing. And it's amazing the fact that we're even talking about having a dinner at Chez Serendip and talking about the fundraising part. And we're talking about, I owe a certain amount of MMJs, some money. This is great. We can pay. That's amazing. We have subscribers. We have people, it's a functioning business.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
And
excellent.
I am only the catalyst to the seedling of it. And I know it's going to get bigger, and I know it's going to grow, and it wants to. It's going to want to outgrow, its container right now, which is going to be beautiful when that happens. And it's also going to be a really hard, even having this conversation is going to be a little bit, not really hard, because I've always known this from day one. Like I said, this isn't a Jeanette show. This is bigger than me. It's not.
But there has to be a leader. There has to be somebody overlooking it all and making sure this whole cog is turning around.
Right. The day-to-day. Yeah, absolutely.
So don't belittle anything about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know. And I find myself in these spaces of I always sort of rise to a managerial sort of leadership role, which is great. And thank goodness I'm at a place in my life where I can also objectify and be okay, I know I can take it to a certain place, and then I can't get it farther than that, because there's just me, right? Thank goodness I had that experience with the studio, and the studio is thriving. And I look at that now, I'm great. That's a great track history for me.
Right.
That's wonderful. And that will happen with this. And that's good. It needs to. It needs to have its own evolution. And because what we're talking about here is we're not talking about this little resistance against, mainstream media, this little resistance against, just the way that the journalism is put together. We're talking about a movement, right? We're talking about eradicating a model that has been broken for a long time, and it hasn't worked for a long time, but we're now really feeling the repercussion of it in the world, right? Media's changing every day.
Yep.
And we're talking about constructing a resilient, sustainable new model, potentially, that's going to have its own growing pains.
Right.
It's going to have its own iterations. It's going to, all the things. But that's a movement.
Yes, it certainly is.
Yeah.
It certainly is. Yeah, it's way away from its origins, and that's for sure. Yeah. Well, Jeanette, we'll look forward to the next chapter.
There's going to be a next chapter, yep. Stay tuned, too, for a date that's going to be put out there. Elisa said the end of summer. I agree with that. I think
right.
It's gonna be...
Yeah, keep monitored on that. That'll be on the 831 announced, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots unfolding with the 831. More people being involved every day. We're kind of getting a system, a flow going, which is amazing. This is so great. And like I said, this is one phase. There will be another phase.
Yeah.
And there will be another phase after that. And it's exciting. So keep
keep tuned,
watching, reading, all the stuff. Keep tuned for sure.
Thank you, Jeanette, so much.
You,
it's
Susan.
been wonderful as ever.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Playing you out with Madame Rose Sylvie.
Acabei de alcançar o mar. Esse é o lugar pra se adequar. É bom seu ar só pra relaxar. Vou caminhar, depois nadar. Pegar o barco e mergulhar. Minhas feridas vão cicatrizar. Não tenho medo, basta sonhar. Tem arte em quase todo lugar.